Okay, well, once more, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us for this monthly community update. I would have thought we're already in the month of November. And, we, before I go into sharing some of the thoughts that we have, I really want to overemphasize our gratitude to every one of you that are partners, community stakeholders. The support that we've had from you all this year has been incredible. This year will go on record as the year in which we broke all records, seeing the highest number of refugee arrivals that we've seen probably in the last 4 decades, the highest number of walk-ins that we've seen in decades. The higher number of secondary migration that we've seen since the Bosnian arrivals, working with the Afghans as well as the Latino populations that have been moving into the area. Significant numbers at this point. We have served over 2,500 people this year alone in all of these categories, as you know, in one way or the other, providing services to new arrivals. So it's been significant. As you all know, St. Louis has been, we've been on a trajectory of an increase in foreign-born arrivals, with the numbers coming out and showing significant numbers, over 30,000, a 23% year-to-year increase in foreign-born arrivals into the St. Louis region. All of that being a culmination of the incredible work that not only the International Institute has been doing, but several organizations, several of you partners here on this call have also played a significant role in just helping St. Louis become more attractive to the immigrant population, whether it's abroad or across the United States. And that welcoming perspective has also been, you all have played a part in welcoming and guiding and helping our new arrivals really resettle in the region. And for that, we're deeply grateful. All of that said, we know that post the results of the elections that took place on November 5th, on November 6th, we woke up to a new and different reality. And we know that people have a lot of questions. We have questions too. For some of them, we can give you answers in the short term, but really just wanted to talk about what that looks like. And for me to do that, I would like to just remind everyone the role that the International Institute plays in the state of Missouri. So more than just being a resettlement agency here in St. Louis, the International Institute is also the Office of Refugee Administration. It is called, the technical term for it is a replacement designee, where the Office of Refugee Administration is technically supposed to be part of the governor's office. But here in the state of Missouri and a few other states across the country, the governor's office, primarily in 2017, elected to not provide services to refugees within the state. And in those circumstances, the International Institute was essentially selected by other resettlement agencies across the state to be the replacement designee. So we have contracts with the Office of Refugee and Resettlement, ORR, and so we represent, we work across the state, providing support services to resettlement agencies in St. Louis, 2 of them, in Columbia, and as well as in Kansas City. So our work goes beyond St. Louis. Now, I want to contextualize that because as we talk about the outcome of the elections, we're going to talk about St. Louis, which is relevant to to us, but it's also important to contextualize it because this has an impact across the state. Post the elections, what we know is what we learned from the previous experience when we had the previous Trump administration, that we saw a significant decline in the number of refugee arrivals. And as refugee arrivals decline, so too does some of the programs that follow refugee arrivals. So, whether it's refugee cash assistance, or the workforce, all of those programs, they grow according to the number of arrivals that we have, and they shrink according to the number of arrivals. So more people will be in our English language classes when we have an increase in arrivals. We'll see more people accessing our workforce solutions when we have increase in refugee arrivals. We'll see more people accessing our social work programs when there is an increase in refugee arrivals. So in the previous administration, we experienced the Muslim ban, which we envisage is something that will be reinstituted, especially this time around, having this been adjudicated by the courts. It may go into effect. We don't know how soon. So that's the one thing we have at this point, and I can say this, that we have projections for our arrivals in this fiscal year, which this is the new fiscal year, at 1,920 arrivals. What we do not know is if we are going to be able to sustain those numbers. If there is, for example, a Muslim ban, will that affect the number of refugees that are coming from majority Muslim countries? So those are things that we're grappling with. And so that's from the refugee arrivals perspective. Secondly, we know we have also seen a lot of walk-ins from the Cubans and Haitians, but we've also been engaging the Latino population, with many of them having what is known as the humanitarian parole status. And so we envisage that there's going to also be, based on the conversations that have been had, that may be impacted. And what we do not know is whether those who already have the parole status and are holders of employment authorization, and in many cases working, whether that is going to be impacted. And if so, how does that affect the Latino population, as well as the walk-ins that we've been having of Cubans and Haitians? So that's the lay of the land, and that's what we're dealing with. Since the result of the elections, we've had conversations with our federal partners, and what we envisage is that there's going to be a significant increase in activity in the next 2 to 3 months. That significant activity is as a result of the fact that there was a presidential determination, which is of the number of the ceiling of refugees that will be brought in the in the 2025 fiscal year. And that ceiling was placed at 125,000. As we speak, 110,000 people are queued up in line, ready to come into the United States as refugees, which means that they have been vetted, they've gone through all the security screening, the medical checkups, and they're ready to go. However, 110 people, 1,000 people cannot be moved in 3 months. So it's likely that there's going to be an attempt to try to get a third of that population, about 35,000, by the end of January or likely leading into February. And then after that, we would monitor and see what happens. So we are gearing up as a team to see increased number of arrivals. In many cases, if those people, if the last time around, if we looked at what happened the last time around, there were people who had airline tickets and were ready to board the plane to come to the United States, but with the executive orders that were put in place, especially those from Muslim majority countries, they had to wait it out for another 4 to 5 years in refugee camps. So again, we are not saying that that's what's going to happen, but we're just looking at what happened the last time, and that is the best way in which we could judge at this time. And that's how we are planning as an organization for what the future looks like. And thought I should just begin by sharing that. I know that there's many questions, and we're really going to want to spend a lot of time talking about all of this and talking about the contingency plans that we have. And so we'll have an open forum at the end just to have a discussion on that. Just to round this up, there's a few things that I really have to emphasize. We believe, one, that the work of the International Institute is still going to be valuable and crucial for the future of St. Louis. For 100 years, we've done this work, even before the federal government started funding the resettlement of refugees. So there's still going to be a need to provide services to immigrants and refugees, because there will still be refugees. They may not just be in the numbers that will be coming. We know that the first 3 months for sure, the next 3 months are going to be very hectic, and thereafter there may be we may see a decline. We suspect that the Afghan, because of the Afghan population, because of the relationship that they've had with the U.S. military during its 20 years campaign in Afghanistan, may spare the Afghan refugees or the Afghan SIVs primarily. So that may continue. We also suspect that because of the ongoing war in Ukraine and the connection of the United States in that war, we're probably still going to continue to see Ukrainian refugees may be spared in that process, and maybe a few others, but probably a significant decline in that regard. Our work will continue. We think we're going to continue engaging the immigrant population across the United States to see St. Louis as a welcoming place for them to come, live, and thrive, especially in our projections with some hostilities that we may see in some communities across the United States as a result of the rhetoric, but also looking at cost of living, access to housing, and the support that we have from community stakeholders here, which is something that we're going to continue pitching. And then we're also going to significantly lean on the community to be able to support and sustain the activities of the International Institute. We're thinking creatively as well, in ways in which we can, one, leverage the relationships that we have, but also think about some of the programs that we have and use those as ways in which we could continue to generate revenue to sustain the mission of the organization in this community. That is the lay of the land, and I wanted to start the conversation with that. Our agenda today is still going to cover projections in new arrivals, and then we're just going to talk about how anyone can be of help at this time, and then we would have an open forum for discussions. So I'm going to pause here. I don't know whether we want to take any questions now, or we would just go to new arrivals. I would ask the team to continue to monitor the chat so that if there are questions, we can also take them. But at this point, let's give you a picture of what the arrivals has been, at least in the last month, and what we're looking at through January 2025. And I'll turn this over to our Vice President here for Client Care, Kelly Laura.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. All right, you hit a lot of the highlights already, but yes, just to do another recap, in October, our arrivals were a total of 120 individuals from very diverse groups. I think I reported last month that our FY24 totals for the fiscal year were 1,387, and our highest months of arrivals were July through September. So just like we're gearing up for another historic number of influxes from November to January, we'll probably see what we saw between July and September for that average of about 600 individuals. Like Ray said, from November to January, we're thinking we will receive on average about 200 individuals as they try to accelerate arrivals. Again, this is a tentative number. It is changing daily, if not hourly. Our original projections for FY25 we were expecting 1,920. But of course, in light of everything happening, we can't guarantee what those numbers will look like right now. In terms of walk-in services, this is a update capturing what we saw in September, October. For the month of November, as through yesterday, we saw 3 cases with 7 individuals. We already project for November that we will have probably 20 walk-in appointments for a total of 40 individuals. So November is already ramping up. And for the fiscal year of 2024, there's a snapshot. We saw a total of 319 cases for a total of 548 individuals.
Great. Thank you very much, Kelly. Just things to note is that significant number of walk-ins that we've seen in 2024, 548, and looking at those 4 countries from which we've seen the huge number of walk-ins, the Haitians, 217. We envisaged that's one of the populations that we worry about, whether we're going to see those numbers coming if humanitarian parole is taken. But also a significant number of Cubans. I think is the highest numbers that we've seen. I also just want to highlight that, as you can see, in terms of countries where we're going to see significant arrivals of refugees, you can see that the Muslim countries, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Somalia, and Sudan, it looks like the State Department is prioritizing those Muslim countries in anticipation of the eventual Muslim ban. And it's really important for me to share that for a refugee to get on a plane to come to the United States, they have gone through significant screening, averaging sometimes up to 8 years waiting, going through different forms of interviews and background checks. And so it's really important as we communicate this, that people understand that it's not just, the free for all get on the plane. It's people that have for years been waiting for this opportunity and have gone through very rigorous medical and security screening to be able to get on the plane. Yeah. I will now our Latino outreach program. We have I'll turn this over to our Vice President for the Latino outreach, Carlos Ramirez, to talk about the numbers we're seeing.
Hello, I just want to share our updated numbers. So far, we have a total of 382 people that we brought. Our first family we brought in at the beginning of February. So we've made some good progress. 271 of those 382 people are adults, with 111 being 17 or younger. And obviously for our program, when we're talking about growing the population and workforce, I think the young people is almost just important to highlight as the adults, because we talk about future growth. We have about 300 people on the waiting list, and we will fulfill that pipeline. We will not accept new people outside of that pipeline for the time being until we learn a little bit more about where we're going to be with any presidential initiatives. So far, we have 75 employment authorization documents filed for. That number is so low because we've been able to find people that already have their work permits. So that way we don't have to pay for them to house when they're just going to be waiting around to get their EADs. And even in the instances of these employment authorization documents, these are people that are living with family and friends, so we're not paying for their housing anyway, and they're already established here with a family. I'm going to be pivoting a little bit to recruit from high unemployment rate cities. So, for example, next month I'll go to El Centro, California, that has a 17.6% unemployment rate. I will also look at Yuma, Arizona, that has a 14+% unemployment rate. And I've also reached out to some contacts in San Juan, Puerto Rico, so that way we don't have to worry about any executive orders, because Puerto Rico obviously is a part of the United States. So that's a little bit of our pivot. We're excited about finishing up our pipeline, but we continue to try to recruit people for workforce and for population of St. Louis. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Carlos, and highlighting that pivot that we're taking already to ensure that we continue to bring in that immigrant population that is so much needed in St. Louis. And then the next item, which I would quickly cover because the director is not here, is the Afghan Support Program, which is going to continue. There's over 80,000 Afghans have in the last 2 years moved into the United States. We also continue to see a significant number of Afghan arrivals as refugees or as coming with special immigrant status visas. So we want to continue that program into the next year. We'll still continue to engage the Afghan population across the United States. We're still crafting how that program is going to shape up, mindful of some of the changes that will be coming. But we have the screening of the Gateway to a New Life that we're targeting about 8 cities across the United States, with plans already shaping up for Kansas City and Chicago. And the idea is to reach out to that Afghan population out there and continue to engage them with St. Louis. But anyone who has not watched the Gateway to a New Life, I'm going to encourage you to. There's one coming up. Hopefully we can share that date in January, and it's going to be done in partnership with the Ethical Society. And it really talks about the efforts that we put together as a community to welcome the Afghans here. And we hope that it's going to put a positive light on St. Louis and lead to the more secondary migration of Afghans into St. Louis. Exciting news, we have already supported 9 new Afghan businesses with the program. That program is going to be expanded to 20 new entrepreneurship grants with an increased amount of 20,000. So exciting news. There's more to come. We're thinking about a business conference, continuing to support the Afghan Community Center, working with Afghan women to establish this cohort of sewing of teaching women how to sew so that they can come out of the house, continuing to support them with English language. So there would be continuous activity there with the Afghan population, at least for the next in the foreseeable future. Talking about how to help, and you know, Kelly, if you would like to talk about this, please feel free.
Sure. I think the story we're trying to tell in this slide is just to highlight the funding gap that exists for the new arrivals with USCRI, or with the funding that we receive. They receive welcome money or their per capita, but it is obviously not enough to cover all of their needs. For example, for one adult, they receive $50 in spending money, money for their security and 3 months of rent. There's costs associated with setting up the home, of course, utilities, food, bus passes. And so their per capita is only $1,650. And so all those expenses are obviously more than that. So that is where the Institute is really stepping in to help assist the clients for their first 90 days. And then the chart expands to 2 adults and 3 adults. And so still showing that funding gap exists no matter how large the family. With the welcome money, the per capita of $1,650, we are able to flex a little bit between larger families and smaller families, but there is still a very large gap and need that exists.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly, for that. And this is crucial as we think about the next 3 months and the significant number of arrivals that we're going to have, and how we manage this. In terms of this funding gaps, we're also working collaboratively with community stakeholders to offset some of these costs in kind or other ways in which it can be offset. But as we see these arrivals, we're constantly trying to fundraise to close this gap so that we can help our families really get on a path to self-sufficiency within this community, as well as prosperity. Now, the key question is how can anyone be of help at this time? We know that with the outcome of the elections, there may be people just like us that have many questions and concerned and worried about what tomorrow holds. And so the only way that we can be at this time, we can't go back to reverse the outcome of the elections, but what we can do is prepare ourselves to be resilient to the changes that may be coming up ahead of us. And one of the things that we are looking at, how people can get involved. Well, it starts by getting involved in our, we have this bi-weekly community partners meetings for those who are actually providing direct services to immigrants and refugees. That's one way in which we can stay connected and support each other. So we will be extending those invitations. This monthly community update calls is one place in which we're going to constantly keep everybody updated about the changing circumstances. So marking this in your calendars, and if there are other people that you think we should add to this list of community stakeholders as we have conversations, please feel. You can send an email to Casey, and Casey would add them to the list of invites. Donations, we are asking for, again, because we're going to see increased activity at least in the next 3 months. We're going to try to host several donation drives, but we're asking partners to host donation drives as well. With this being the end of the year, if people are feeling like giving, if people want to do something, we're asking for as many gift cards as possible, because that will be helpful. Asking for financial contributions. This weekend, we have our annual gala, Ubuntu 2024. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We launched our Giving Society. We asked people to, if you join the Giving Society to continue to support the organization and sustain us at least for the next 4 years as we see how things progress. This would be the time when we need a lot more people to advocate for immigrants in the region, because the rhetoric is going to continue, but this is a time when we really need advocacy in support of our new arrivals. Next slide, Casey, please, if you don't mind. Housing continues to be a strong barrier for us. With significant increase in arrivals, we're having to put people in hotels whilst we wait to find the right housing for them. Putting people in hotels is a significant cost for us. We don't necessarily want to put that burden on the new arrivals for the stipend that they have. So essentially, we raise money and cover those hotel costs, and if we can avoid that by having apartments ready to put people in, you can see how much we will be saving per case per month, and that amount of money can be stretched to support them even more. And by the way, when we have people in hotels, it also hinders our work. Or hinders their progress, because we cannot enroll people in school if they don't have a permanent address. Transportation is usually more challenging. Kids running in hotel corridors have been a problem for us, and in many cases they don't have green spaces to play. But even that, just having the opportunity to begin to acclimatize into life in the United States is challenging. So like every other month, we ask for anyone with access to apartments or any connections with real estate developers to reach out to us, where we're looking for biggest challenges with the larger families. Those 3, 4, and 5 bedroom units are really what we're looking for now, to be able to evacuate the 26 cases that we currently have in hotels. And we know that that's going to significantly increase with the new arrivals. So please contact Carlos Ramirez for as we bring in the Latino population. We have 300 people in the pipeline. Contact Kelly Laura for if you have any housing leads for the nearly 600 refugees that we envisage we're going to be receiving in the next few months. And then, of course, we mentioned in-kind donations. It's getting cold now. We're looking for winter coats, blankets, space heaters, those grocery carts. The dates, which will be eventually circulated for our scheduled drive, we're going to have 3 drives, and we're really looking for household items, things that we can put in a home so that the families can get on with their lives. We were also asking people who would like to host donation drives to reach out to our donations coordinator, Semere Desu, to be able to identify the items that are most needed as you organize those drives in your various organizations. And obviously, we have our Target and Walmart wish lists that we would encourage people who would like to make a donation to support. Grocery carts continues to be really important, because it helps the families be able to make a choice of what they want when they go to the grocery stores. And then, of course, personal items and diapers, just a significant number of children that we see, but number 3, diapers are the most required. Winter is here, like I mentioned earlier. We're looking for the items that go into home furnishing, coats, jackets, boots, all of those things that can really help our families be warm and feel welcome in St. Louis. Next slide, Casey. Financial contributions are going to be, especially as we close out the year, we're asking for people to support us as much as you can. You see where the resources are going, really to support provide emergency support to our new arrivals, paying those hotel bills, supporting close the funding gap. So we're asking for, any considerations for donations to do so via our website, or join the Giving Society, attend the Ubuntu celebration that is coming up. And there we're going to be having a fund the need. My colleague Karen is going to talk a little bit about that. So
Hi. Oh,
yes,
sorry. Are you ready for me?
yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen. And yes, our Ubuntu Gala is this Friday, November the 15th. It's at the Reverie in Chesterfield. So the good news is there are still tickets and tables available, but they will be closing down sales today. So that we can get any last minute information over to the venue. So it's a tremendous event. And as Ari mentioned, a large portion of that event is the Fund a Need pledge drive. So this is the Institute's largest fundraiser of the year. So we really invite all of you to please join us in celebrating our awardees this year and supporting the funding gaps that we have here at the Institute. So you can go on that QR code or that website, or you can email me if you need additional information to buy your tickets. If you're unable to attend the event, you can make a donation in advance that supports that Fund a Need drive. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me about that. But it's going to be a amazing event. We have Michelle Lee emceeing, we have entertainment, we have music, we have dancing, great food, and our committee has put together a tremendous raffle event. So we have, maybe 20 different packages, so you can get anything from diamonds to restaurant gift cards. There's a lot of things there. So it's going to be a very fun event. It's going to be a way that we can celebrate the people that are champions of multiculturalism in St. Louis. And you can further support the work of the Institute, especially now when some of our other sources are a little bit uncertain. Or, as Ari mentioned, join our Giving Society. So this is a new donor society that we launched just this past year. And it's for those who can donate at the 1,000 or up level annually. There are a lot of benefits associated with it, aside from just, supporting the work of the Institute and the communities that we serve. There are benefits such as VIP passes to Festival of Nations or other events and things throughout the year that these donors have exclusive access to. And you can do that by making, I know it's the end of the year when a lot of people are choosing where they can support. You can make a one-time gift, or we can also facilitate a monthly recurring gift. So this is an important and new venture for the Institute to sustain our programming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen, for that. We're looking forward to Ubuntu this weekend, and really continue to encourage people to join that Giving Society. Where again, other ways in which anyone can be helpful is through volunteering to help at this time. Where this is one area where we're really developing a stronger platform, an elaborate training program to have our volunteers support our work. There is a portal. People can use that portal to access the various volunteer opportunities, some of which include, our job interview practice, which takes place every Fridays. We need, bus training and benefits, reception assistance, apartment setup. That's something that I always encourage people to do, because that's it really gives you a perspective on what welcoming a family into this community looks like. We're asking for upcoming overemphasize the donation drives, because we just know that we're going to really need a lot of support. And then going grocery shopping is something that we need even on a daily basis. So we're asking people, if you have some time off towards the end of this year, sign up, give us an hour or two of your time, and that will make significant difference. And then with going forward is advocacy. Advocacy is really going to be something that we would be talking more in our subsequent events, but you can be an advocate for our work by just showing up for upcoming events. The bi-weekly bazaar, for example, we have our first Thanksgiving coming up. The donation drives that I mentioned earlier are always in which you can be an advocate for the work of the International Institute. Talking about the community bazaar, I'm going to turn this over to Carlos Suarez, who is heading our economic development team to talk about the community bazaar.
Thanks, Ari, and great to see everyone this afternoon. Just to highlight real quick that we have our last community bazaar or holiday bazaar coming up on December 6th to really highlight a lot of the entrepreneurs that have started businesses here in the community, immigrant entrepreneurs in particular. And we'll have food provided by Sunrise Dough, so it's a great chance to have lunch. Check out also a lot of the work that's happening here through the International Institute and experience the community. In addition to the food, we'll have some great music, and we'll have some gift vendors or craft vendors from a number of groups, including an Afghan women sewing group that will be making their debut and selling some of the products that they've been working on over the last several weeks as a part of the Afghan support program here. So a really good chance of checking out some new things, supporting immigrant entrepreneurs and startups. And we'll also have some of our community partners such as Counterpublic, Great Rivers Greenway, Affinity Healthcare in attendance, sharing more information about the great resources that they provide. Again, we want to thank also the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the donation of food that also is provided to our clients at the Community Bazaar. And for those that are interested in volunteering, it's a great way to engage with the International Institute. We are planning our 2025 dates for the Community Bazaar. So we appreciate the sponsorship of this last quarter by Hacking Immigration Law. It's also great for a great experience to sponsor. So for anybody that's interested, happy to talk about that as well for next year. But save the date for February 14th for our next Community Bazaar next year in 2025. And we hope to see everyone here at the International Institute inside of our cafeteria on Friday, December 6th, starting at noon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for that. I would quickly call on Maxwell to just go over Maxwell Kelly, who is coordinating our first Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving is really an opportunity for us to showcase Thanksgiving to our new arrivals. Many of them do not have a holiday like this in their country. And typically on Thanksgiving, new arrivals in this community wonder what's happening, what happened to everybody. Everybody disappears. And so we're doing this really just to give them a sense of what is unique about this American holiday. And really just also to be thankful that we have the opportunity to serve them. Is Kelly, Maxwell Kelly, online?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Ray.
Okay.
And sorry everyone for the confusion about all the Kellys.
All the Kellys. Yeah.
So a special thanks going out to Dot Foods this year. They are our sponsor. They're making this in a large part able to happen through their very generous donation. So we are going to have a catered event. We are going to be able to serve up to 350 individuals from our community and clients. It's going to be held here on campus in the gymnasium. There will be lots of fun for the whole family. Some of the events will include performance by a magician. There'll be 2 live music performances, one of those being the Gateway Science Academy. They're going to have a youth string quartet out. I know that's really popular with the kids, is seeing other kids in action, as it were. We're also happy to invite the STL Fire Department out. They're going to have a truck there for the kids to play around on, and that's always a delight for the kids. If anyone is wanting to contribute, we are still accepting donations towards beverages, desserts, or anyone wanting to make toy donations. Again, one of the main drives is to make this a really fun event for the kids. So please, if you have any community members that might be interested in joining, please do share the RSVP or the link. The more the merrier. We're really looking forward to having a well-attended event this year, and hope to see you all there.
Great. Thank you very much, Maxwell. I'd say last year we had over 400 people participating in this. And so we hope we think that we're going to exceed those numbers. And just to wrap this up, for contact information, we're going to send out this PowerPoint to everybody, but it just provides as much contact information if you're looking to have inquiries on any particular area. I also want to note that we have our immigration attorney listed as well there, because we're seeing an increase in the number of inquiries about immigration. We know that immigration, our immigration team is going to play a very, very significant role in the next few months and years. We've already seen increased activity there. There are lots of questions. We envisage that shortly we're going to have a special session that's really just going to be focused on addressing immigration questions that people may have. But we're also contemplating an asylum clinic as well, in partnership with other community partners, just because we know that there's heightened anxiety and people want to know what steps they can take to protect themselves. So that's list of the contacts that we have. And that's it. At this point, I'm going to have to stop here, and the next 10 minutes, if there are any questions or that anyone has to ask, I'm happy to take those comments that anyone wants to make, mindful of the situation. We have 10 minutes. And if there's anyone on the International Institute team, if there's something that I left out that is important for us to highlight, please feel free to jump in and do so. Comments, concerns, worries? Apparently not. Okay, well, seeing or hearing now, I would no questions or comments at this time. I just want to say, this organization has been around for 100 years. And there's a reason why it has been around for those years. It's because of the community. The St. Louis community has stood with us. They stood with us in 2016. We're looking forward to doing it again. And we're thinking really creatively about how we sustain this work. And we think that we have been building the organization for this moment. And so we will weather this storm with your support and with your help. I really want to thank you all for being here and for the continuous support to the organization. We will keep you updated in our next community update at the beginning of the month of December. So thank you again for your time today.